Well, I guess you'd say it's the Three Amigos right now.
That's right.
We're left. We
Well,
start, we're still around. It's amazing after all these years, 30 years or so, how when it comes to projects, how we pretty much think alike. In the early 1950s, when he opened a small place in Sellersburg, and I happened to run into, I was a kid at that time, and then later on, years when I was in college, I had occasion to visit with him at his home and so forth.
I met him, I asked him for a job, and he hired me as a truck driver in 1956. He was a tall, good-looking gentleman, and very ambitious.
I knew Mr. Ogle, like I say, as his accountant and tax advisor, and Bob as his attorney, and Willis as a longtime employee.
And working for him was, at times, was from a legal standpoint, was a challenge, because he had his own ideas of what he wanted done, how he wanted it done, and he'd say, okay, this is what I want done. Now you guys go out and find me, tell me how I'm going to get this done without getting in trouble.
He kind of took me under his arm, and or his wing, so to speak, and just took good care of me, and I did the work, and he furnished the money.
That's basically his legacy, of the people that are out there that have been helped and what's been done.
I think probably he would be proud of us for putting the money in the right places.
Went to high school in VV, Indiana, and he's, as I recall stories from him and his sister Josephine, he really wanted to go on to college and possibly become a dentist, but his family had bought quite a lot of farmland back in the 20s, and then hard times hit and they got overextended and he couldn't afford to go to college.
He was a big picture guy, and he was good at that. He was very good at that.
The one thing they did from time to time would get on the riverboat and go to New Orleans. And I don't remember whether the boat that they went, the ferry was powered by propane, or the fellow that ran it was also starting in the propane business. And he got Paul somewhat interested in selling propane.
He really enjoyed taking care of his employees. And like Bob said, he enjoyed spending his money in the communities where he made the money.
One that he loved to have a good time, and Willis was always willing to follow along and have a good time with him. So I think he learned a lot from that.
He also liked Willis's wife. He hired both of them, and he liked her. She would cook up these nice home-cooked meals, and especially in the summer when the garden was in, and several times he would invite all of us out to her house, and she would be nervous about fixing it, but it always turned out.
We were motorcycle riders, and we rode motorcycles all over the country. Oh, we'd go out west and ride in the mountains, Smoky Mountains, Shenandoahs, many, many places over the years.
Yeah, he rode that motorcycle until he was in his 80s.
He played saxophone and organ both. I was told that he played at the governor's ball in the state of Kentucky once or twice.
I think he must have started the band shortly after high school, and it was, he married, I think it was his high school sweetheart, and they were married for about 20 years until that ended, but she played in the band too. He told me that he finally got to the point where he had to decide whether he wanted to play music or run a business.
We said earlier, he'd like to have a good time. He enjoyed wine. He was visiting up at the Ogle House in VV when it happened. They found him one morning in the hallway with 2 bottles of wine in each hand. He was walking back to his room, and so he went out the way he lived, and he enjoyed life. And he always wanted to help his hometown up at VV, because it was a very poor community. He grew up, as earlier said, as not real well-to-do. He enjoyed giving it away, certain things. He enjoyed helping people.
And then along in about 1988, he decided to give the stock of Silgas to this foundation. It was a difficult decision for him after all those years of building it up to give it away, but he kept saying, I'm not going to be around all that long, and I've got to do something with this.
We would tell him at certain times, you can't do this, Paul. And he'd say, well, you're worse than any wife I didn't have. Okay. From 1979 to the date of his death, the foundation was able to give away about $6 million. That was it. As of today, or this time of year, foundations contributed over $68 million. So he'd be astounded to, I think, to see what has been done. Mr. Ogle was always the gentleman. He was a good businessman and generally had his ideas of his own, and he wanted to do things most of the time his way.
Well, I said, I could always tell when he was a little bit uptight. The faster he whistled, the madder he was.
He was a good guy, really was. What you see was what you get from him. He wasn't phony in any manner. He was very, very private individual, so to speak. He liked to be around people, but his thoughts were his thoughts.
I can remember one time, I think all of you came out and we went over to Huber's and the kids picked strawberries for him, and he gave each one of them a silver dollar, which was about 10 times what it was worth, I mean, for what they'd done. And
I just think that Paul was a unique individual. If any one term could describe him, he was a gentleman.
A young man that grew up in VV, Indiana, in a good family.
He was more like a father to me, and he probably made me what I am today.
When she was just 3 years old, little Coral had a serious stroke. With good care and time, she's much better, thanks to Kosir Children's Hospital and vital medical equipment funded by the Ogle Foundation. A precious legacy of a good man. Ladies and gentlemen, Ivy Tech Southern Indiana is proud to present the 2010 Legacy Award to Mr. Paul W. Ogle.